Do you have to just stick with simple things? Not necessarily. Now this is a professionally prepared PowerPoint slide from a textbook company. You can see they incorporated a diagram on the right. They've got printing on the left, even in some different colors, which I'll come back to in a minute. But that is as complicated a slide as you want to put up there. You notice that it doesn't yell at you. The colors are kind of mellow in tone. Another thing people love to do, this slide was prepared by a grad student in a course that I teach, and she didn't want to put, she had a lot of writing to put on here, and she didn't want to put it all up there. So she stood here talking like this with a blank screen for a while, and then she wanted to bring the first writing in, so she flew it in from the left-hand side. And then she talked about that for a minute, and then flew the next one in, and her intention was good, was very good. She wanted them to concentrate only on what she was putting in there, one at a time, one after another, rather than throw them all up there like that and just people would just glaze over. If you do this repeatedly, it's annoying. To do it on one or two slides during a presentation is perfectly fine. The thing you don't want to do, and the temptation is to prove that you know how to use PowerPoint, is to put sound with it. When you slide that first one in, you make a noise, you know, zip, or the second one comes in and you have an explosion sound, or all the various sounds that PowerPoint lets you put in. And you think, of course, you're being entertaining by giving it some sound. I sat in an audience once listening to a presentation and listening to the students around me and their reaction to sounds associated with lines flying into a diagram. What were they doing? On about the third slide, they started making bets with each other on what the next sound would be. They were paying no attention whatsoever to that, what was on that slide. They were just trying to outguess each other as to what the next sound would be. So you've lost the whole purpose of PowerPoint by doing that. Don't get fancy. Stay simple. Now, before you fall asleep, what do you never, ever, ever, ever do with PowerPoint? This is a slide I put together, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of slides similar to this that faculty put up there. They put up a whole bunch of writing, and then what do? They stand here and read it to the students. This is a very stupid slide, and I should not have to sit here and read it, and so on and so on. And they go down the list, and they might spend a little time talking about some of the statements, and the bottom line is nobody is paying a whit of attention to them by the time they get down the bottom. For one thing, students know how to read. For another thing, that's boring, no matter how you cut the cake, to put all that print up on a screen and then sit there and read it to them. And this is what has irritated students to the point where they just don't want anything to do with PowerPoint. I had some undergraduates present a talk in my animal welfare class on mammals in the ocean, marine mammals, and they were so proud of themselves. They had put this PowerPoint talk together, and this was one of their early slides, and what did they do? They stood there and read this to the class. And the class got a little antsy and squirmy, but it was okay. Then they went to the next slide. Same thing. They stood there and read it, and by this time, no one was paying attention. And of course, they just kept going. It was one after another after another. No one was paying a whit of attention. These three slides violate the two things that you absolutely can't do with PowerPoint. One is to have all this junk on there, all this writing that you read, but the second one is the background. They thought they were being appropriate by using a picture of the ocean. That's supposed to be the ocean and the sky in the background, because they're talking about marine mammals. So you've got this sky effect, and as you can see on the top left especially and down the left side, you've got a lot of white in the background with white print on it. You lose the effect of the print altogether. So they've used an inappropriate background with far too much material. Now, can you resurrect a slide? Can you rescue a slide like that by changing the background? If you change the background to solid blue, the print does pop out at you more. You don't lose it in the whiteness of the background, but you've still got a disaster there. You've still got just at least 4 times more writing on a slide than you need. or than people will tolerate sitting through. So whatever you do, don't duplicate those last 4 slides. Now, the other thing you can do, if you want to emphasize something, PowerPoint is great because you can put your statement up there and you can change the color of some of the words very easily. The 2 words that I want to draw their attention to are obviously teaching and learning. So I just put those in a different color. Immediately, those 2 words stand out to them, and they know you're trying to draw a contrast between teaching and learning. Now, after ranting at you about not putting too much on a slide, I got into a situation where I was guest lecturing, and the person I was lecturing for wanted these points made, and she wanted them on 1 slide. So I put this slide together, and it was just so painful for me to project this slide. I just said, I have to do something with it. And if I can't change the content, I'm at least going to change the color. So by changing and putting 3 colors in there, I at least have drawn their attention to turn the slide into 3 areas of attention rather than 1. It's still not a slide that I would like to use, but when you get in a situation where you don't have any choice, at least try breaking it up with different colors. Now, I told you I taught endocrinology. Endocrinology is the study of hormones. That's what it is by definition. Now, if you're going to study hormones for the whole semester, you have to know what a hormone is. So I have to project this definition of a hormone every time I teach it. And again, I can't control the content. I can't redefine a hormone to keep PowerPoint happy. So you have to deal with that whole mess. So what I decided to do was resort to changing colors, but not randomly, not artistically. I just didn't decide, oh, I think that top line should be yellow. I changed colors to identify certain parts of that definition that I wanted the students to concentrate on. The first group of yellow words were kinds of hormones, and so on as you go down through. So sometimes that's the best you can do. If you have to put something like that up there, at least try to break it up with different colors.